What's up, you guys? How you doing? Here are my recommendations on the best perks to use while playing Modern Warfare Warzone. I'm going to add footage with the class setups on screen as well as in the description below. For those of you that are just here to copy the loadout or don't want to hear me talk on the reason why I chose these loadouts, if you disagree or believe you have a better loadout, feel free to comment your loadout below. I'm going to start off with all my setups first. Then later in the video I'll explain why I chose them or why I chose not to include certain perks or items. I like to remind you that this is all my opinion and my personal preference. Okay, so without further ado, the reason why I chose the P90 for my SMG primary weapon is because of the amount of rounds that you get in a magazine. And that little clip that you saw, I actually had doo-doo aim and I missed the majority of my shots. If it wasn't for the P90 having extra rounds, I probably would have been screwed in this situation or even not been able to kill this dude or even down him actually. And High Alert, it's actually a great perk, and the reason why is because of this clip. And this little freeze frame, even though it's like for half a millisecond, my screen goes off, but it's so noticeable that you can instantly know that you're being targeted. In this situation, I was actually focusing on the person who was actually down, and if it wasn't for High Alert, I probably would have been dead because I would not have realized that his teammate was right there in that corner, like literally right there. You can't really notice it on this little frame because the calling card is actually blocking him, but if you look closely you can actually see his little tiny head. And High Alert, actually I knew that his two teammates were over there before I even engaged in this fight. I already know that the side that I came in through would have been emptied because his two teammates actually headed west to the right side of this tent, or forward in this situation, and I know that they weren't actually nearby. I didn't know that they were that close actually, so High Alert actually saved my ass. Here I switch instantly to my M4 because my P90 is actually out of ammo, has 0 rounds in the mag. So because of Amped perk, tier 3 perk, I'm able to switch to my weapons almost instantly. Starting off with perk number 1, my recommendations are E.O.D or Cold-Blooded. Perk number 2, High Alert, Ghost or Overkill. Perk number 3, Amped or Battle Hardened. And for lethals, I chose Proximity Mines or Thermite Grenades. For tactical, Heartbeat Sensor, Smoke Grenades or Decoy Grenades. The reason why I recommend Proximity Mines is for kills, and Thermite Grenades to force players out of corners, certain spots, which can alleviate pressure on me. For lethals is more of a personal preference on what you prefer. If you're good at using frags, go for it, C4s, etc. There's not a bad choice with lethals. I chose Proximity over Claymores because I don't know if it's just me, but Claymores are so big and noticeable that you can't miss them. For tactical equipment, I do favor the Heartbeat Sensor over the others because of how useful it is at this early state of the game where players are not running Ghost 90% of the time like in multiplayer. Out of all the times I tracked enemy players with the Heartbeat Sensor, everyone has been showing up on the sensor. One of the reasons why I believe it's 100% right now is because the perks are not activated unless the player chooses a loadout from the loadout crate, which can cost $6,000 or randomly dropped by the game if they're able to find one. Even then, not a lot of players are running Ghost as their second perk, which is the Heartbeat Sensor's counter. A lot of people are running Overkill 100% of the time, which can be useless, and I'll explain why later it can be useless. Overkill is more of a situational perk. People are also running Restock as their second perk, which I don't really see why they are. I personally think Restock is not a good choice compared to the other perks that it's competing against. The reason why Overkill is not the best choice 100% of the time is because you can already pick up 2 primary weapons in Warzone. When it comes down to running Overkill, it's situational for me. For example, if I join a match and get horrible loot like a gray LMG or even an RPG only, as my secondary. If I get the chance to choose a loadout when I get one of those loot crates, I will choose overkill as my second perk. Or if I died, lost all my loot, respawned, and a teammate called in the loadout, then I would choose overkill since I have no weapons to pick up. If I'm playing and I have great loot with decent weapons like an M4A1 gold with full attachments, or even a purple with 4 attachments, then I would choose my class with high alert instead of overkill. The reason why is because after you choose a loadout, your previous loot drops on the floor. So if you want to keep that M4A1 that you found, you can always just choose your class setup that has high alert as the second perk. When your loot drops, switch to your handgun, drop your handgun, and pick up that rifle or whichever weapon you want to keep as your secondary, and boom, you have 2 primary and secondary weapons. High alert is extremely useful. I don't know if they made changes to it, but the last time I played was in November before season 2, and high alert was not as noticeable. But in Warzone, for some reason, your entire screen changes to the point to where you instantly know you're being targeted, which means you can take cover or even slide to avoid a headshot from a sniper, since headshots with snipers are basically a one shot, one down. You can easily call out to your teammates too for them to take cover. So that's one of the reasons why I strongly recommend high alert in plenty of the situations. I don't have actual stats to prove it, but I personally feel as if high alert worked as far as 150 meters out when I was targeted. Again, I can't prove it since I have not done testing on it, but from my personal experience with public matches, I've noticed that the enemies who spot me are over a far distance. For tactical, my top pick is the heartbeat sensor. Again, I would strongly recommend the heartbeat sensor. Here's my opinion why. Not that many people are using Ghost, and I think it's because they are prioritizing overkill and restock. But I'm sure that's going to change because the heartbeat sensors are extremely powerful, so the meta might change to where players are using the heartbeat sensor all the time, which is going to force players to use Ghost, since Ghost is the counter for the heartbeat sensor. UAVs are powerful and cheap as well, so that might force more players to start running Ghost in the future. But until then, I would recommend using heartbeat sensors right now for your every tactical, for every class setup that you have using your tactical. Decoys are pretty useful as well, but with this setup, it's only a one-time use, and versus a heartbeat sensor that lasts as long as you drop it, I would choose a heartbeat sensor 100% of the time versus decoys. For weapon attachments, that's just a personal preference, at least for me, but these are the attachments and weapons I personally use. For rifles, I like to use the M4A1 since it's pretty strong. Has a high fire rate, and it's pretty accurate in this battle royale. For SMGs, I use the P90, and when I'm actually playing in the battle royale, if I find a purple, even kitted M13, I will use that. Or even a legendary PP19, I would use that over the P90. So it kind of depends on my preference and how I'm feeling that game. For weapons, I'm going to be honest, I don't have much research to tell you which one does the most damage per second or has the fastest time to kill, but I'm sure other YouTubers will cover it, but these are the weapons that I chose. Okay, now for those of you wondering why I decided to remove items or not include the items here, here's my reasoning for that. For perk number 1 or tier 1, I do not recommend double time, scavenger, kill chain, or quick fix. The reason why I don't recommend double time is because it's useless. At least personally, to me, it feels useless. If I wanted to cover more ground, I would use a vehicle. That's basically why double time is pointless. Scavenger, it's kind of pointless because if enemies already have enough ammo, I can just kill them, loot them, take their ammo, and I'm basically all set. Also, there's a lot of ammo crates around the map that can fully resupply your ammo, so that's another reason why scavenger is kind of pointless. Quick fix is pointless because of the time to kill. The time to kill is not as fast as compared to Call of Duty's multiplayer, which means there's not a lot of kills happening, or not even enough kills happening. That makes this perk efficient. To be honest, I haven't used it, but my perception from the perk is that it only works when you completely down or kill a player or even thirst a player. I don't think it actually works from downing a player, actually. I could be completely wrong. Let me know if I am wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Even then, if it is only from downing a player, it only regenerates your health points, which already, to be honest, regenerates as fast without the perk. I have no issue gaining my health back after I lose my armor by just waiting a couple of seconds. For kill chain, to be honest, I have not done much testing with this. I'm sure Exclusive Ace or the other YouTubers that do all that data stats will have an answer eventually with numbers to see if it is useless or useful. But now, at this time, I have not attempted to use it or even test it out. For perk number 2 or even tier 2, I don't recommend restock, hardline, or point man. The reasons why I don't recommend restock is because lethal equipments aren't as strong in this mode, and same goes to tactical equipments. The majority of players are running E.O.D or even battle hardened, sometimes even both. So that kind of defeats the purpose of using, even if you have an extra lethal or even tactical grenade, it's going to be pointless. Also, with this class setup that I'm using, I use heartbeat sensor a majority of the time, which is going to last forever unless I drop it or lose it, which basically renders restock useless for me, since the only equipment I would be using is lethals. Lethals can easily be found in the game. I have no problem finding lethals whenever I'm playing this battle royale. For hardline, it's hardline. Just by reading the description, I don't think it's worth it. It says you get 25% off the purchase of buying kill streaks or even upgrades. It does not say anything about buying a player back, so I'm assuming that it's still going to cost 4,500 to bring a player back. I'm pretty sure you don't get a discount off of that, which means, again, this is kind of pointless. Now, just as an example, when you buy a stack of armor plates, I think it's about 1,500 or 1,500. 25% off of that would be only 375. That's a little bit. That's actually not even worth it. Whenever I'm looting around, I can easily find a stack of 250, 500, or even 2k cash just piling around when you go looting. So cash isn't really much of an issue to find. So it's definitely not worth losing a perk just to get $375 off. UAVs, now if we use UAV as an example, that costs 4,000, and 25% of 4,000 would be 1,000. So it'd be $1,000 cheaper to buy a UAV, which again, UAVs are already cheap as it is, so finding an extra $1,000 is not going to be an issue for me. That's one of the reasons why I think hardline is completely pointless. Okay, now for the final perk for tier 2, we have pointmen. Now, this one, I can't really say too much about this one since I have not personally used this perk. I haven't done research on it, I haven't done any testing on it, so just by the description, I'm assuming it's pointless at the moment. Unless you're running teams with friends or a team that communicates and does all the contracts, I don't think this would be used for you. Also, like I said, for me personally, finding cash isn't a problem in this mode. Who knows, that might change in the future. They might make cash more difficult to find or even things more expensive, but I don't know. Pointmen could be useful since it only requires one player to equip the perk in order for your entire team to get affected by the perk. But like I said, there's not much info to know how much more money you're getting. I haven't been testing on it, and it's typical for Modern Warfare to leave vague notes. The description basically says all members of your team earn more money from completed missions. It does not say how much more though. Is it 1% more, 10%, or even 50%? I don't know. But what I do know is that Exclusive Ace and the other YouTubers that do those stats are most likely doing research on it now, and we'll probably find out soon. But if it turns out, if it does turn out to be a high percentage of cash, of extra cash that you're getting, who knows, this might be useful, since only, like I said, since only one teammate has to have this equipped in order for your other two teammates to gain the benefit. It could be useful, but we gotta wait until they actually get more information on that. Now, for the final tier 3, the perks that I didn't choose, or perks I don't recommend, are Tune-Up, Shrapnel, Spotter, and Tracker. Tune-Up. This one's basically pointless for me. The only benefit for using it was with randoms when I played with complete strangers. And basically these strangers were new to the game, or they were just less skillful. Even then, it was not worth attempting to save them and risk my own life for this, this perk. Even though it provided a reduced revive time, it wasn't worth it. Most of the time it wasn't worth it because as soon as I revived them, they would instantly get down after reviving it. So it basically turned out that it wasn't worth the risk of reviving someone unless I fully killed the enemy team. At that point, I don't need an extra 25% revive. I have all the time to revive them since the entire team is dead. Also, this might sound bad, but with this battle royale, they basically have 2 chances of reviving. They have one, the gulag, or I can buy them back if they died. It's not going to be a problem. They basically, even if they fell in the gulag, they still have me to actually buy them back in. So that's one of the great things about this game mode. It makes the game more fast-paced, and because of that, players are more aggressive, which is actually awesome. You get these matches where you feel like you got combat every time you come in contact with an enemy team. I feel like everybody's playing aggressive just because they know if they mess up, they have another chance, 2-3 chances to actually get respawned again. That's one of the really good things they did about this game mode. It actually forces players to actually go out and be more aggressive, especially with the cash system. In previous battle royales, it was kind of a benefit if you actually chose not to fight, if you're already full loaded. But in this one, in order for you to actually keep up and to keep getting cash, you're gonna have to actually initiate in fights, otherwise you're gonna be behind. Now, the next perk is actually Shrapnel. This one is kind of pointless, at least for my class setup. I don't use lethal equipments like frags, Semtex, and even if I was to use one of them, I would always just find it. In this game mode, I have no issue finding a frag grenade or even a Semtex grenade. There's always one in every house. And since everybody's using E.O.Ds, it's not really as useful having an extra grenade or even more damage, since everybody can just heal back up. So that's one of the reasons why I think Shrapnel is pointless. For Spotter, in my personal experience, Spotter is useless. People aren't camping in this mode. They're actually moving around, being more aggressive. One of the reasons why is because they're not, like I said before, they're not harshly punished for making a mistake. As compared to other battle royales, if they got into a fight and then lost that firefight, then they're completely dead, out of the game. But with this mode, if they make a mistake, they can respawn again with the gulag. They can respawn again by being bought back in. So that's one of the reasons why Spotter is pointless, because nowadays people aren't even camping in the house. If you see a claymore, chances are that house is empty. I know from my personal experience, when I get a claymore or even a proximity mine, I just place it down somewhere hoping that someone's going to walk by and get That's basically what everyone's doing nowadays. They place one down, they forget about it, and they keep going. Not just myself. I notice a lot of people are doing that. They set up mines or even claymores in a location where they're no longer staying at, hoping that someone just blindly runs into it. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I think spotter is pointless. Now, for the last one is tracker. Tracker, it wasn't useful, at least to me, it wasn't useful. With the footsteps being so loud in Modern Warfare, I think it's pointless to have tracker on. You can just easily just listen to the footsteps, pinpoint where they're at, then just keep going. With tracker, I found myself that I was, focusing too much on the footprints. I would tunnel vision the footprints, and next thing you know, there's an enemy like on the top building. I didn't even notice him because I'm focusing on the footprints only. So to me, it was kind of, I was at a disadvantage because I would focus too much on the footprints instead of my surroundings. That's one of the reasons why I don't recommend tracker, because it's gonna happen. If it happened to me, I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen to a lot of other people. They're gonna tunnel vision the tracks and they're not gonna notice their surroundings, and next thing you know, they're gonna get killed. So that's one of the reasons why I don't recommend tracker. So that's it for my recommendations on these class setups for this new Battle Royale. Comment below if you disagree or if you have a different class setup that's been working for you or you think it's better than mine. Let me know if you've been enjoying this new game mode too. I know I have, especially since yesterday was the first day that I actually played Modern Warfare since I quit before Season 2 at the start of December. I'm enjoying it, and they did an amazing job with this new Battle Royale. GG and peace out, guys.
You got debated. You got debated. You got debated. Debated.